right back, Charlie.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian, man. Come on. Are we live? Of course we're live. It's me and Alex, Thierry Henry and Dennis Bergkamp settings. How you doing, my friend, man? Good morning to everybody.
Deluded, I'm back again.
Energy. I love it. 5 years, Mickey, but I can tell you're upbeat.
Deluded. What are you getting for the ladies in your life for Christmas? I'm really struggling for my sister.
Money, man. Money. Just money. Money. Do what you want. Just do what you want. Money, man.
£50 in a
yeah, man. I gave up a long time ago trying to find gifts for women. My men were quite simple. I rate you if you're still on that. Give you the money, do what you want with it, man.
I think it's a bit of a love language in my family, so I don't think I can get away with it with just giving them some money. I always think I would rather.
You don't love money though.
Oh, hey, listen. What's my surname? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, trust.
The thing I'd say is it just feels a bit, what's the word, mercenary, giving someone money. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit like, there you go. I'd rather just not do presents. That's my preference.
That's a scumbag. That's a scumbag.
No, I'd rather not do. Everyone just agrees, no presents.
What about perfume?
I might have to do that, yeah. I think I did it last year for my sister. So,
well, you know what? Why don't you think about what your sister actually likes? What is her interest? Do something thoughtful. Get a thoughtful present.
Everything she needs. Everything. She lives in.
Some would say that about Arteta.
I can't even buy her like heated blanket or whatever. Do you know what I mean? She lives in a warm country, so it's stupid. Money,
man, like money. Rules are there to be broken, my friend, man. How you doing, anyways? Though I like the way you started this.
I'm good. You normally catch me at we record at like 10 a.m. So I've woken up a little bit because I've normally woken up like about half an hour before. So I'm a little bit more awake. That's probably what you're sensing.
That's good stuff, man. You know what? Let's start there, yeah, because obviously I don't know if people can see your name, but it says happy 5 years, Mickey. What have you made of the 5 years under Mikel Arteta? And if he left tomorrow, what would be his legacy?
If he left tomorrow, what would be his legacy? That's a good question. I think his legacy would be a manager who reconnected the fan base in the team.
Good. I like that.
I think his legacy would be, which is not, by the way, I think what happens is because that's happened, we assume that's was always going to happen under any manager. That's not easy. That is really not simple. I would argue, look at most projects, that doesn't really happen. Probably Klopp is the last one who's really done that, who's gone. But even then, Brendan Rodgers had something, he just couldn't get over the line. They were challenging for leagues and stuff. I'm talking about a club of the size of Arsenal, who were where they were, getting them back to where they are. It's not just like that. Do you know what I mean? It's not.
I don't disagree with that.
And for how long it had been going on, so it's. I can't think of a comparison, an easy comparison, certainly. So that for sure. A guy who's got the team back where on most metrics it should be, but probably unfortunately a guy who couldn't get us over the line. And there is a question. I think we've spoken about it before, right? About is he, we have to ask if it happens again this season, we don't win anything. You have to ask. It's fair. I wouldn't pull the trigger, but you have to ask, is he the man to get us over the line? You have to ask it. We can't, I've sort of been, this is sort of jumping around now, but I've been talking about, we've been in project mode for so long that we can't sign anyone over 25. We can't put anyone on big wages, and we can't do anything that a club not in a project are doing. We're not out of the project, but we're at the point where the project needs to pay off. And so at some point,
it's really got to take shape now.
Yeah, at some point, trust the process also means, well, the process, it's not completed because the process is completed when you win a trophy. But if you've got everything up to the point of winning a trophy and then you don't do it, don't know.
It's a lot of foreplay, but not penetration. I always say that, man. Like, you're so close, but yet so far. You mentioned trophies with Mikel Arteta, and this is my first time I'm getting to ask you. What did you make of his comments about 3 trophies, alluding to 2 community shields and the FA Cup? I know you've been asked that a million times.
I put it in the same category as the Nico Yova mural. I get it. I get it. I don't know if I love it. I don't know if I love it.
What's wrong with the mural? What's wrong with that?
It's a set piece, coach, bro. Like, it's just I'm as top Gooner as they come. I really am. Like I'm a positive fan. I walked past it and I was like, no.
It can't. But is that any unpopular opinion? Don't shoot me, guys. Is that more cringe? Is that more moral, more cringy than the North London Forever song? Don't shoot me, fans, please. North London Forever. It's hardly intimidating.
It's quite
it's utter woke nonsense.
Quite a white song, isn't it? it's just quite like, not sure it represents Arsenal particularly. I don't know. I just think it. Yeah. I walk past it. It is though. I walk past it, and I don't know. Look, ultimately, we live in a free country, don't we? And I think people get to do what they want. So ultimately, I don't know who's decided, but that would be a couple of people who's made that decision, and it's meant to represent everyone. It doesn't have to, and I can see it and not love it, and I don't have to get annoyed about it. It's just what someone else wants. Would I have done it? No. But
Fair enough. I want to start this before we get into Crystal Palace, before we talk about transfers, before we talk about Newcastle. Obviously, it's quite on brand that coincidentally, and I guess everything happens for a reason because, it's Mikel Arteta's 5 years. I wanted to ask you about the manager. Like, me and you share a lot of opinions around Arteta. I'm a bit more critical, admittedly, of Mikel Arteta, but I do think he's a genius. I think you're great tactically. And I just think ultimately in life, you have to live or die by your high standards. Kind of what you alluded to. Every year that we do not win a Prem or a Champs, the question gets bigger and bigger. And for me, Arteta, as you said, he united the fan base. A lot of things he got mocked at about, like, the dog called win, the atmosphere stuff. It's all paid off. We've got to a point. But do you feel Mikel Arteta is, I don't want to say losing the plot, but he seems a bit arsey, if I'm honest, when stuff like this, like if I show you a couple of things and come on, there's less tabs here today. Come on, allow me. I made sure I cleaned it up.
Yes, that's a major improvement. I will say
major improvement. See, I made sure before this guy came on the stream, he was going to look it. And all of these tabs are being used. But on criticism, Mikel Arteta said we deserve to win the last 6 games by a mile. Before that, again, after the Everton game, he said, I'm very disappointed not to win the game because we fully deserve to win the game. We conceded no shots on target. We dominated direct play. We did all the right things up to the last 20 meters. Now, I only ask you about this because I feel Mikel Arteta keeps saying this. Like, I feel when we drop points or we're not happy, we see the same things, the low blocks, inability to break them down. We do dominate all the field tilts and the XGs and things of that ilk. But it does feel a bit wrong of Mikel Arteta to say that to me, because if we deserve to win the game, we would have won it. But where are you at with that?
Yeah. But just quickly, am I lagging or are you lagging? I think you're
I'm fine. Like, maybe it's me if I can't see lagging. Yo, hello. People let us know.
You're frozen. I can hear you, but you're frozen. I think on that, I get it. I mean, ultimately, if that was Ange, I'd probably be. Oh, he's gone. I'll carry on. Ultimately, if that was Ange, I think we would be. It could just be. Oh, apparently we're both good. So it might just be mine. Anyway.
Oh, I refreshed my browser. All right, we'll go again.
We'll carry on. If that was Ange, I think I'd be saying, "Oh, he's losing the plot" or whatever. I mean, Ange does it every week, so whatever. I think what it is Arteta is Arteta going back off a little bit, and I actually don't mind that. He's been very good with the media over the last 5 years. He's been very the way he's handled the media is the way right now Ruben Amorim is handling the media, which is with the perfect response every single time. That's great. But actually sometimes, and you see it with Pep and Klopp and whatever, when you're approaching that level where you don't want any nonsense, he's taken on all the responsibility. He did all the stuff saying, my chest is here, hit me guys. Like he was the one who said, it's my responsibility. I'm looking at myself, all these things, right? In the end, you develop a bit of a credit. You develop a bit of a relationship with the media. Ultimately, we forget he sees these guys 2-3 times a week. At some point, you develop a bit of relationship. And at some point in a relationship, you need to go, hang on a minute, back off. Like, he's not even rude, but he's just saying, look, we should have won the last 6 games. Leave it. Like, we know each other well enough now that I don't need you to be doing that stuff. And what I will say is always that when it goes into the Ange stuff, which is kind of the sort of slight abuse of journalists, I don't like it. I don't think Mikel's gone there, but I don't mind a little bit of, as long as it doesn't go too far, because there is a point where you lose control, a little bit of just setting a boundary and going, no, we should have won those games. Don't give me, oh, we're in a crisis, or we're, I tweeted this out the other day. After winning that Carabao Cup game, we're in the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup, a very winnable position to go on and win the competition. We're third in the Champions League. We've got a third round tie against Man United in the FA Cup. I think we should win that, and that's at home, right? We're 6 points off top with 66 points to play for in the Premier League, having had a nightmare start. This idea we're in this horrible position is something that is being peddled by people who wish to make money off Arsenal. I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. So are there things we can improve? Oh, absolutely. But is the greatest of all time manager also on a 1 win in 11 streak? Yes. There's problems.
How do you feel about that as well? Because I think it's weird that, this season, both teams have quote unquote kind of fallen off. Before that, obviously the last prior 2 seasons, both teams were fighting, and both teams have kind of fallen off really and truly. Are they linked?
Look, I just don't think it's sustained. I think it's a number of things coming together. Nothing in football and in life is ever one thing, I don't think. I think it's a slightly aging squad. I think that's being slightly over-egged. I think it's slightly teams working City out slightly on the transition. I think it's slightly, 4 titles in a row. At some point,
exhausting, man.
The Kyle Walkers, the Kevin De Bruynes, the John Stones, the Ruben Diaz, they're just going to go, we all know in life when we're absolutely on it and when we're there and we're,
the hardest thing to do is stay up there.
But it's staying up there. We turn up to work, we're doing the thing, but we're not in it. We're not fully present. And that's probably what's going on. And I think that's fine. It just needs a refresh. And so I don't see it as a long-term issue for City or with Pep. I just think it's a case of what they've done over the last 4 years isn't sustainable. And at some point the wheels are going to fall off. And I think it's this season.
I think you're bang on the money, man. I think, naturally, I personally think where you look at City, I think they've been due this purely because I don't feel they've done what they've needed to do in the market. But away from Manchester City, you kind of alluded to it. Again, you said, you wielded off all the stats. We're in that kind of, in my opinion, that halfway house, and that I don't think it should be all negative. I don't think it should be all positive. I think we're still in all competitions. But genuinely, how do you feel about our chances of silverware then? Because for me, I think our best chance at this moment in time evidently looks like the League Cup. You've got two-legged tie. You do that, you're in the final. But some people say it's not good enough. They want the Prems, they want the champs, the revolving goalposts, as you know yourself.
I get that. Yeah, people will want more, which is completely fine. But equally, if we don't go and do that, and we also didn't win the Carabao Cup, people would use that as a stick to beat us with. You've just got to do what you can. I think the Carabao Cup I would say expect to win. I think
you're bang on the money. Expect to win. I wanted Liverpool. I'll be real. I know it sounds crazy to say. I wanted Liverpool across the 2 legs. You take them out, we're living.
You can check my ex. I tweeted out last night. I said I want Liverpool, and the reason why is I want to play them as much as possible this season because I think we're better than them. I do. I genuinely,
I don't know about that bit, but I'm with you with the rest.
No, I think we're better. Honestly, I think we're better than them over a wider sample. I think in a certain game they could beat us 100%. But I think over a wider sample, the more we play them, the more we'll see actually tactically and technically. I think we are the superior team. They've got a better attack, no doubt, absolutely no doubt. But I think we've also got the better defense. I think we've also got the better build up. I think we've got better aspects, loads of aspects of the game. But we can have that conversation at some point if you want. I think. And also, we haven't been to Anfield since December 2023. And the next time we go there is May 2025. And that's a long time. And I'd quite like a visit to Anfield just to remind us that we can go there, we can play, we're fine. But yeah, I think we've got, the home leg against Newcastle. I think we should get a decent cushion. I think Cher and Guimaraes are suspended. I think we should make
be right that count, man. We've got to kill them at home.
Yep, got to capitalize on that. And then I honestly think at a neutral venue, at our second home, Wembley, I think we win.
I think you're bang on the money. Do you feel Arteta can't win in the sense of if it's not the Prem or the champs? Those that would say if he doesn't win anything this year, it's another year trophyless. If he wins the League Cup, it's only the League Cup. And is this what all the process is about? Do you feel he can't win in that regards?
Maybe, but that's football, isn't it? And that's True. Kind of It's just the way ultimately there's always going to be naysayers that you literally can't please everyone. So there's always going to be criticism. You can find criticism of every manager ever. So this idea, what happens is we hyper focus on our own problems and then look at other managers and pretend they have no issues. Of course they do. Real Madrid have been up and down. City, where they're at, Arne Slot is. What's funny is if Arne Slot had joined 5 games into the season, the phrase "new manager bounce" would have been attached, wouldn't it? But it never gets attached. It never gets attached when it's at the beginning of the season. I'm not saying, he's also doing an absolutely brilliant job, and I want to emphasize that. I think Liverpool are probably better than they were last season. So, definitely better than they were last season, 100%. So I'm not saying that, but also managers get worked out, and over wider samples, they objectively do. Pep does. So Slot is going to.
I think that's happened a bit to Arteta, not in a disrespectful way. It's just naturally we're a known entity. You lock down that right-hand side, you have mid and low blocks, half your job's kind of done. And we'll get on to that because there's stuff Arteta should do. But I think you're bang on the money with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's, so every manager has flaws. This idea that, which is exactly my point, is every manager has flaws. So it's pick your flaws. It's the same with, I'm sure we'll get onto players later. I talk about this all the time. Every player has a flaw, so there might be a better way. The better way of doing it would be to go, what's his flaw, and can we deal with that? Is his flaw off the ball work? Can we deal with that? Is his flaw pace? Is that something we can't? That's a non-negotiable. Is his flaw his availability? Can we deal with that? You basically have to go with that because there's a lot of quality out there. So I don't know, man. I think we just keep going. We try not to look too much at immediate results in sort of, he missed these games, and look over a wider sample. But we've spoken about it before, haven't we, on streams and stuff? If over a wider sample, I'm seeing the underlying numbers going down, I'm seeing he's not getting over lines over wider samples, he's been given more and more money, and over the wider sample, if it's all heading, it's been heading that way, and if it starts heading that way, then of course there's a conversation. I'm not blind to that, but it isn't currently.
And that's the weird thing for me with Arsenal. I feel, when you look at the fact that clearly we can't sit here and lie, scoring from open play at this moment or breaking down low blocks and things of that ilk are issues for us. I think a lot of the issues that we face at Arsenal, and I think for most balanced fans, a lot of the frustration has come because in these 14, 15, 16 games, the issues we're talking about haven't necessarily arisen in that period. They've probably been there from last season. And that's the annoying thing about me, in that when you look at the underlying metrics, one thing I like about the Everton and the Fulham game, Mikel Arteta is clearly a planner. He's got a plan for the plan before the game. He can stifle an opposition. He can win on all those metrics. You look at the metrics, the field tilts, the possession, actually pre-chance creation. There's a lot of positive underlying metrics, but fundamentally, we're not putting the ball in the back of the net. So a bit of a twofold question, like why do we seem to have issues with open play? And what would you say are the flaws for Mikel Arteta so far then?
Flaws from open play. Okay. I think there's so many factors here. I think
let us have them all, man.
Okay, let me try and go through it systematically. I think there's a number of things. I think Mikel sometimes struggles to create balance in the team because he's very intent on seniority and very intent on players being put exactly in zones where they're going to be comfortable. And I think sometimes you have to make players a little bit uncomfortable. So what I mean by that is, he's like, well, I'm going to put Timber in at left back over Miles O'Skelly, even though he's wrong-footed, because Miles is going to be uncomfortable in this phase of play. Sometimes you just have to prioritize the balance and take the defensive hit, right? That's one of the things. I think we lack profiles in the centre that can receive centrally. I think we lack players behind the ball who are willing to go centrally. And I think we naturally emphasise, and Mikel has always emphasised, the wide areas, because when you lose the ball in the wide areas, it's less dangerous. And he's a conservative, sort of defence-first coach, which is fine and has got us to where we are. I think there's a little bit of a lack of bravery in terms of profile. I think there's a little bit of a coaching issue where we don't have a player. If you think about the setup, Ødegaard is best when he drops out the block. Havertz is best when he's pulling wide to support. Martinelli's best when he sort of is on the ball and is coming out to in. Rice is probably better behind the ball. So what you're doing is you're pulling out all these temp pegs, and the central areas get pulled away. And then a little bit of luck, and then a little bit of teams defending well against us. Then a little bit of are we just a little bit wasteful sometimes? There's all these things together. I do think Mikel naturally emphasizes the wide areas in any team that he's in for Arsenal or most teams that we've played. I suspect that's slightly a profile issue. I don't think Mikel ever doesn't work to exactly the strengths of his players. I think sometimes that
You'd
is
be a fool not to. For every manager, really.
Yes, to a degree, an extent. If it's sometimes you have to make players a little bit uncomfortable and ask them.
Yeah, but I'm more talking the majority of your squad. If you know, like you could, like, well, it's actually the best time to do this stream because you look at the 5 years Arteta's been here. People have seen him do the attacking thing, probably be a bit more conservative now. There was a time when we had like the Mustafis and the Socrateses, and there was a point you could see kind of the template of what he wanted to do, but these players would let him down. So what I mean by that is, and even when you've seen Pepe play, etc., I think at times Arteta's had ideas, but he's looked at the majority of his squad and said, you know what, at this moment in time, I can't do X, Y, and Z because whether it's like what you're saying, there might not be the profile, the players might not be good enough. So I think for the majority of the squad, like the majority of your team, you have to do that. But where I agree with you is, you said it there, I do think there's I hate to say lack of bravery because it kind of feels like I'm being a bit disingenuous to Arteta or the players, but I do think Arteta, there could be a bit more bravery. I think the players could be a bit more promoted to be brave. I think you're spot on the money about wide areas. And again, in isolation, Arteta don't stop that. But central regions, we've got to find issues. And I would say the bigger thing for me is, I know it's easy for me as an armchair expert to sit here and criticize Arteta or breaking down low blocks, but we came into this season knowing this was an issue. Even if we go back to the Wenger days, completely different. We knew this was an issue. So that's where I don't really have a bit of sympathy. I know I'm sounding harsh, but where injuries, breaking down low blocks, relying on players that are good but not necessarily great, short-term fixes becoming long-term solutions, as a club, I don't really have sympathy, bro. But I agree full-heartedly with a lot of what you just said.
Yeah, and I would, on the sympathy point, I would agree. I think a lot of the stuff that we're dealing with now, we've been dealing with for a long time. And I think I had a bit of a line in the sand post Everton where I think beforehand I've been like, maybe, if the right attacking signing isn't out there, and you've got to think about.
I've seen your tweets. You're getting a bit cheesed off.
Well, I just got to. It's not really. What's funny is, obviously I'm naturally quite a positive fan, and I basically made a video on my main channel. I was like, we need a signing. I've made my mind up in terms of, for me, I think we absolutely.
I watched it. We're getting into that.
Need an attacking signing, and we'll come to that. And some of the comments are finally dropping the toxic positivity stuff. It's not toxic.
Join the club, man.
Yeah, well, yeah. But look, I get it. Like, and some people will have always wanted a forward for a long time. I've always felt, well, I think we could have enough. It depends if we can platform Martinelli better, if Havertz keeps up the run numbers he's doing. Marino might facilitate certain things, and then we're looking again and we're saying we've got a split, and we've got a player scoring 20 goals, we've got a player scoring 15, we've got a player. And that's not where we are. And that's fine. But I thought we could get there. Turns out we're not. And now I'm saying we need an attacking signing. So,
careful, Alex, man. You can't change your opinion on social media.
It's new information. And ultimately you change your opinion around it. So, that happens. But yeah, I think on the sort of the point around, like, you're saying about Mustafi. Yeah, with Mustafi, you don't play a high line. With Aubameyang, you don't play to feet. That's fine.
A bit like Sterling and Martinelli, in my opinion, but go on.
Sure. Probably. But there are some players, sometimes you have to say, Declan, I know it's a little bit uncomfortable, but I need more carries from you. You're going to lose the ball. You're going to look a bit silly, but to create a little bit of aggression in the centre. Martin, I love what you do when you drop out, but actually sometimes we need you between the lines so you can quickly combine with Saka and you're not 6 miles away down in the clock end. So, like, it's just sometimes asking players to do things that they don't love doing. Havertz, mate, sometimes we need you on the last line making the strikers run. We need you making that back post strikers, number 9s run. I know you don't love doing it. I know it's not absolutely your strength, but sometimes we need it. I think that's my thing with him. That said, though, and then we discussed this before as well, my housemate's shouting. Sometimes what I think always, I feel, is Mikel does fix it. It just takes too long. So Havertz in the midfield. We all knew the fix. We were sat here probably on a stream about a year ago saying,
everyone said throw him up front, man. Fuck it.
Then he did it, and it worked. We were calling for Smith Rowe for ages. We were saying Tierney can't invert for ages. We were saying put Saka on the right for ages. So he always does the thing in the end. And I know he'll fix this at some point. It just takes him too long. It's the same in games sometimes as well. I think Mikel does know the flaws in the team, but he possibly trusts people a little bit too much. I don't know, or maybe trusts himself a little bit too much. Somewhere in that balance, it's a little bit off. That's
Do you
my
think he's
main.
too stubborn then?
You could say that. But you know, also then if he goes completely reactive, is Unai Emery. You know, he's a reactive coach. So
then you can't win, yeah.
You can't win. So you know, it's stick or twist. I don't know. Anything in life, you get a girlfriend, you're thinking, oh, I could be out right now, you know, whatever, and you're in on a Saturday night watching a film, and then you don't have a girlfriend and you're out on a Saturday night thinking, oh, I wish I was cozied up on the sofa. It just you can never win. You can never win. So I hope we do win a trophy, but you know, I just think whatever you pick, there's always going to be a downside. I would say what Mikel, you know, bro, can I share my screen?
Go on. How do we do that again?
I saw this thing earlier, and also, well, two things. First,
send me the link. I'll share it. Or how do I give you permissions to?
I think I can do it. Let me just grab the data. In so many areas of the I can share. Great. Okay, let me just get it up. Sorry, 1 second, mate. In so many areas of what we do, we are so good. I mean,
and that's why I'm frustrated, Alex, because you can actually see stuff. It's for me with Mikel Arteta, and I'm being very harsh because I think the league is harsh. We missed out by 2 points. You've done all the hard work. You know, you've jumped in with 2 feet, inexperience, you know, the defensive aspects, all of these things you've done great. Now it's just that little percentage, and that's what the league's about. And kind of piggybanking off what you didn't say this, but indirectly, when we're talking about multiple people scoring, that's great. But I just feel the gloves need to be off when you're talking about winning a league title. I feel you need to be able to answer these questions. You know, whoever's up front, you're getting 20 league goals. Saka's getting numbers. Can you get someone that gets Saka's numbers or 50%? Can we bet on the fitness and size of our squad? That's where, for me, the frustration comes from collectively as a whole club. Because again, these are not new issues, but Alex has a great graphic up here, and he is right, and that's why I'm frustrated with Arteta at times because the quality is there, and I don't know about anyone else, but for me, if I rate Arteta, I rate what you're doing. I have to hold you to those high standards. I can't just gas it when you're doing well. But take us away, man. In fact, before you carry on, you was about to say your main criticism of Mikel Arteta, but then we digressed into something.
Well, my main criticism is really what I was just outlining in terms of the knowing what the issue is, because he always ends up changing, but not doing it quick enough. That's his main issue. And when you're able as a coach or as a coaching team to produce outcomes like this, to produce an outcome like, even with the amount of time we spent 10v11, I think our defensive numbers, I've got them here. Hang on, just give me 2 seconds.
See people, educational stuff, man. Take us away, Alex, man.
I looked at our numbers the other day. Just give me 2 seconds. I've got it on a script.
Make sure you're subscribed to Alex's channel. The Different Knock should be at 100k. Link is in the title.
One day. Here it is. So defensively, second least goals conceded, lowest non-penalty XG against us, second least progressive passes through us, lowest XG per shot against us, lowest conversion rate against us. But attacking wise,
this is what I'm saying, Arteta, you're dominating. And this is me saying we've fallen off a cliff defensively. The defensive phase, to a degree, the middle phase going forward could be better, but you're locking that down. For me, it's just the final third. But go on, man.
And you can hear it. So in the Premier League on XG per shot, we're 4th overall. Goals minus expected goals, obviously a good measure of your finishing quality. We're 8th. Non-penalty XG overall, we're 6th. Total shots per 90, we're 8th. Shots on target per 90, we're 6th. Goals overall, we're 6th. We have one attacker in the top 25 players for non-penalty XG generated league-wide, which is Kai Havertz at 10th with 5 goals from 5.9 XG. Saka's like
don't sound promising if we want to win a league title. It sounds quite naive. I'll be real.
So defensively, set pieces, in terms of all the metrics you mentioned earlier, in terms of possession and field tilt and all those sorts of things, there's so many things going right, which is why I believe in Arteta. And he's got us there, but attacking wise, and this is maybe we can come on to the going forward.
No, let's do it now. Let's do it now.
I know he'll fix it, but if he saw defensively the underperformance that we are having attacking wise, he would go in the market. I guarantee you. He would absolutely
100%. Look at the track record, how many defenders we've bought. The hardest thing to do is score goals. And I'm not one of those fans who wants us to just sign anyone, bro. But I find it very difficult to deal with where fans kind of say, oh, who are we going to sign, the profile, this, that, and the other. If you can't find a household name, For me, find a different profile, someone that could grow into that. I'm not saying sign players for the sake of it, but if we was a prime Real Madrid side or a prime City side, I would get it. Of course, I'm being very ignorant and naive, but this is the level we're at now. You know, what you're kind of alluding to there is Arteta has done all the hard parts. The fragments of the team are there. The hardest thing to do is put the ball in the back of the net. Now, I'm not trying to catch Mikel Arteta out, but I listened to his press conferences. In February, you said we've got one of the smallest squads. I don't think we've addressed that. You said we need to be a team that scores 100 goals. In the last 2 years, we've improved in that. But when you break it down, it's been set pieces, and I'm not criticizing that because that still needs to remain. But you also need to score from open play. And I think a bit of it is just simply put down to the profiles. As you said, all of us were screaming to just put Havertz up front. He's done all right. And I think Havertz can be part of the squad. You're just not a 20-goal man. I hear it. Is there really not an excuse to bring in another left wing or someone that can give us something? Forget stats, for example. That kind of profile we're missing. Because I think for me as an Arsenal fan, and maybe people disagree, above everything, Saka provokes fear in the opposition. I'm not saying the others don't do that, but I think when you've got someone like that, fullbacks, like if someone's on the left-hand side and you know you're playing against someone like a Mane, you're going to think twice about going forward. You get into a 1v1 situation or you're high up the pitch, you're in issues. So that's what I mean by, for me, a lot of my frustrations isn't necessarily with this season or isolated in games. It's been a bit of a build-up there. I wouldn't say stats lie and they don't necessarily tell the truth. It depends what picture you wanna paint, which is, for me, it's a mixed bag. Like, you know, Alex just showed on one hand, there's many different good variables, and on the other, there's statistics that could be improved. The hardest thing to do is score goals in it. And if we just had, for me, if we had a player that got numbers, turned some defeats into draws, some draws into 3 points, we're laughing, man. We are.
Yeah,
but we're not at the moment.
Just on the stats point, it's about interpretation, and you can interpret it, and that's the key thing, I think, and applying context. I think on the attacking, I think we're all in agreement. I feel that there's an issue in the final third, and I would put some of that down to coaching, but I put a lot of it down to profile now. I've mentioned many times what I think we're missing, but ultimately what you were saying there, it sounds like you want someone who is a 20-25 goal a season forward, right?
I think we need that, bro, because we're just talking, like, again, if we want to do what we're doing the last few years, I think we've got enough. If we're talking about getting over the line, you got to get me another attacker, bro.
I hear that. The problem with it is balance. And, like, for example, if you're saying, okay, I want Isak to take over from Kai Havertz, you will get a drop off from Saka, and then you will because of what
let's start there. Why?
Because of what Havertz does with Saka in terms of the rotations, in terms of how he facilitates him, supports him, drops in on the right. You know, if you look at Havertz's touch map, he's supporting Saka.
True.
I think the quickest way to improve this team is on the left with a left winger who can,
I think that's a solution as well. Even if you give us 50% of what Saka gives us.
Well, yeah, that'd be nice.
Ideally more, but just imagine that. Like, we're laughing.
But someone who, with the isolation that Martinelli currently has, can still create.
Exactly.
And we can come on to profiles in a second. But I just think,
get onto it, bro. We're here for your thoughts. Let us know everything.
Well, it's more, you know, the market has to dictate it. But I suppose what I'd say is I think we're all on the same page. I think then it's now a case of who, and I can come up with a million names: Isak, Semenyo, Osimhen, Lookman, Marmoush, Šeško.
Marmoush looks good, you know.
Šeško, Leao, Kudus, Nico Williams, Rashford is there, Vlahovic, Ferguson, Brian Mbeumo, Samu Rodgin, Joao Pedro, Alex Bainer, Karim Adeyemi, Jamie Gittins, Mateus Cunha, Victor Gyökeres, Tyler Dibbling. There's so many players out there, and then it's a case of, okay, Ryan Cherky, someone's put Watkins. I don't know if he's been my first pick, but look, you have to think about two things. You have to think about who's available and what you can do, which is, you know, you have to be realistic. It's not FIFA, but equally the need that you have and how that person fits that need. And my big thing is, let's not let perfect be the enemy of good. That is so key.
I like that.
It doesn't have to be perfect for
perfection's an illusion. We're never going to be perfect.
Well, exactly. And I think you can go two ways. If you think the strike, I think in Arsenal's dynamics right now, if you think the striker is available, if that to you is Gyökeres or Isak or whatever, I think you then have to look at other dynamics. I think you might need a new left back. I think you might need a different setup in the midfield slightly. That would impact Saka, and that's a different conversation. Do we pull Saka inside? I don't know. Does that need a different right back profile? Different conversation. If you believe in a striker, I think the quicker fix is probably off the left. But either way, whatever you do, there's a clear need, and there's a need now. And I think there's this sort of thing of like, oh, we'll wait till the summer. Well, who says that players are definitely available in the summer as well? If you have a need and you can do something to improve, go and do it. I don't get this thing. With certain players, okay, it's going to be a little bit more complicated in the January window, but we have an obvious need. Everyone can see. The data is saying it. The fans are saying it. Mikel is saying it, as you were sort of alluding to. I'm sure the players would like that. There's question marks about, what's happening with Martinelli and Sterling and Jesus and whatever in their futures.
Every attacker apart from Saka and to a degree Havertz, to be fair.
Basically. So there's an obvious need, and there's so many options out there. And I don't know what else it would require for us to move. I don't understand, basically.
Let's look at your tweet then. Semenyo, who I like, I think he'd be a good kind of option for the squad. Osimhen, we've all waffled about him. Lookman as well. You said obviously, I think people probably misconstrued this tweet without seeing the replies where you said can see all three happening in Jan. But do you think it's feasible that we could get a one of a Semenyo and Osimhen and Lookman genuinely? Even though you have said it is hard, but anything worth doing is hard, which is true.
Mate, we're Arsenal. We do this thing where we're in this. This is my whole point about the project thing. We will sit there as fans and bemoan not beating Bayern Munich. And then the moment you say Osimhen's got a release clause, you go, oh, he'll be on really big wages.
True. We do love that.
Like 9 of Bayern's starting 11 are on 300k a week. Do you want to beat them?
That's the realm we're going to be in. And I said this on the stream with you a few months ago. I said, we need to stop being accountants. Like, obviously, we can't be reckless. But if Arsenal go to the way we want to, you're going to have people like, assuming Kai Havertz is demoted to a kind of squad player role if we sign a striker, you're going to have him on on a decent wage. We have to be okay with that. You're bang on the money.
And by the way, it's that's for Osimhen. But then you'll go Semenyo. But Semenyo, long term, he might not be exactly right for us. You can sell players. You can sell them. You don't have to. Get out of this project mindset. Why would Lookman want to leave Atalanta in the middle of the season? Because we're Arsenal.
And he's a London lad.
Football club, and he grew up in Charlton, right? Like, stop this accountant, this sort of project mindset that we've all got. Like, if you want to win the league, you have to get the talent at the level that is that. And I find it really bizarre because and then it's like, okay, you might really go, no, look, definitely wouldn't leave. Okay, but you agree we have an issue, yeah? Okay, well, what about these 50 other players? There must be someone.
This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying because I feel fans fall for this. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying to sign players for no reason, but we can't find a profile who's available. I mean, it makes sense. And the more you say it, it makes more sense. But then at the same time, like, we've got money. We can sign these players. And, Arsenal Football Club, like all these clubs, they have all the scouts and the analytical data and all of these things available to get things over the line. I don't think we're going to sign anyone in Jan, but kind of on brand with what you're saying, I think we need to really. I think there's too many unanswered questions. I feel we've got too many struggles on the left. And that's why, ideally, for me, we've got Kai Havertz in the squad. You've got Saka there. You've got a next striker in the squad. You've got a left winger. But I believe one of the two, we need a bit of a boost. For me, it's all about I feel we've got more questions than answers. I feel when you're looking at a league title, there needs to be more answers, really. And for me, it's not always about how good we are at our best, bro. It's at our worst. At our worst, who is going to make the difference? Who's got that in them? Lord knows where we'd be without set pieces. Lord knows where we'd be without Bukayo Saka at this moment in time. I need some other players. I'm not accusing none of the players of not pulling their weight. It's just, let's be real. Saka is the only one with that bit of stardust potentially. I think we need one more. We need a boost. That's why I'm saying if you could get someone that's 50% of Bukayo Saka, if we had someone that's doing what Cole Palmer's doing on the left-hand side for Arsenal, where would we be? If we just had somebody else, just one more at this moment in time, where would we be? I don't know.
I don't disagree. And yeah, I mean, I will say, every team in the end relies on a player or a phase of, where would Real Madrid be without Vinny? Where would
but then you look around the whole Madrid squad. You're right, but look around the whole squad. Even the ones like Rudiger, like players that are just playing to a certain level. Like, I'm not accusing none of our players of not doing that, but
But the
If
players
we
that
want to
get
win a
them
league,
over
we have
the
to get with
line,
this.
my point is the
Pardon?
players that get them over the lines, you know, and that might
Yeah,
be
100%.
sacrificed, I think that's okay. But yeah, it's not letting perfect be the enemy of the good. And the idea that if you can only improve 3% rather than you would prefer to improve 100%, still improve 3%. If you can only go to the gym 2 days a week, go to the gym 2 days a week. Don't not go to the gym. Do you know what I mean? It's just do it.
Just what you can do in the variables that you can control to be better. And that's that. I don't doubt Mikel Arteta wanting to be better. I don't know if Edu shortchanged him, if we spent money the best possible way, if we was naive. I'm neither here nor there. As I said in the last example, last time we was here, when you're at your grandma's house playing with all your cousins, if somebody breaks something, everybody in that room is going to get beats. My grandma is not going to ask who did what. Like, and even if you snitch, you're going to get in trouble in it. So everyone's going to get beats. We're all in this together. We share the W's, we share the L's. This is what we've got. We want to win a league title. And for me, I'm starting to get a bit nervous because the last 2 years, we've had a fantastic opportunity. If Onslaught wins that league, I don't want to be that kind of paper tabloid guy. And I'm not saying you should sack Arteta, but I'm looking at him very funny. Chelsea are looking like they're getting their act together as well, bro. We're obviously going to improve, but we're so close. We're so close.
Look, there's no denial it's a bad look. There's no denial it's a bad look. I mean, what I will say is, you know, the whole, what phase is Arne Slot in? The phase where he has 4 Premier League all-timers in his team. That's the phase he's in.
Everyone loves phases now. I'm seeing United talking about that. Everyone's in a phase now. They mocked us for this. Yeah. Everyone's phasing.
But since the beginning of 23-24, Mikel's had world-class players in his team. So do you know what I mean? But the timeline, Mikel's, I would say, 2 years into about where Slot is. So yeah, that's not a good look. But to say, he's been here since 2019. Well, hang on a minute.
Yeah, that's disingenuous because we were a mess. We was a mess. Yeah. It's been the last 3 years, including now, that we've been serious now, or something serious. Like we can start to talk about bigger things. The last few years prior to that, they've been a write-off. That's obviously a bit disingenuous. It's like even when you see the figures they claim Arteta spent 900, 800 million, and other teams have spent more. I'm not saying Arteta's got everything right, but that's where I think people are disingenuous.
I would say post Rice is where you can start to say he should be winning leagues. Like you can't.
This is why I'm getting onto.
Yeah, which is completely fair. But like,
still ain't replaced Granit Xhaka. Let's be real, bro. We still ain't replaced that. Like Arteta, you're too smart of a man, and whatever you've tried, it hasn't. There's been no long-term fix. Now, I hope Moreno's a step in that right direction. I hope in the summer we get an 8 because I feel we need a different profile midfield. I think we're kind of fairly stocked at the 6. I know Jorginho and Partey could depart, but this is what I mean by these problems are not new. Nah, they're not new. Like all the things I'm talking about, they're not new, and this is what gives me optimism, but also makes me a bit negative. Is we're so close, but yet so far we've done so much good. We've done the hard things. We've come a long way in Mikel Arteta's 5 years, really. Look at what the man had to deal with the minute he signed for this football club. Respectfully, for a novice manager, he had COVID, obviously the whole Aubameyang and Ozil stuff. He had a lot. We've been on a serious journey, you know. So don't let this be the defining legacy for me, man. What do you make of this? Long story short, apparently Arsenal have been consistently linked with Gyökeres. However, Mail Sport has learned that there are reservations over a move for the player. Gyökeres has a reported 85 million release clause in his contract, a big financial commitment, particularly when you consider he'll be 27 by the time next season starts. There are also said to be some concerns over whether he can replicate his goal-scoring record in one of Europe's major leagues, having built his rep in Portugal. Where are you at with that?
Not convinced. But if the club like him, then if you want
to, they don't based on that.
Well, yeah, but there'll be some people in the chat who are watching this who are convinced. In which case, go and do it. I honestly, I don't really. I have my opinions, but it's more but it's the intent that I want the club to show. That's so. If they're convinced by Gyökeres, I will be honest. I don't see it outside the box. I think he did okay against Saliba and Gabriel in our game. But
I think that's harsh, you know.
From what I don't see outside, mate. He's great in the box, and he's great in terms of if you're going to get to run against channels, but against low blocks in most of the game states we're in, he's not useless.
He's not helping us. Yeah,
he's not helping us that much. So but if the club say no, we're going to play differently, we're going to approach the games differently, we're going to give up more territory, then we're going to transition on the team. Fine, sure, go for it.
Where's the next one? What else have we got? On Isaac, among the players who will be considered next summer is Alexander Isaac, who for many is the leading candidate to fill the role as Arsenal's new attacking focal point. Isaac ticks all the boxes for Mikel Arteta. There are, though, internal concerns over his injury record, particularly given the intensity of Arteta's teams. I think the last sentence scares me. That means beyond the obvious and how difficult this move is, it might not be someone. But he's a quality player, man.
The fitness thing is the main concern, because I think he can give us a bit more transitional capacity. I think he can be what they say, a bit more of a focal point player who remains on the last line, doesn't drop out all the time. I think, look, it's just going to be a lot of money. I like the talent. I have a little bit of concern. I want a bully. If we're signing centre forward,
I see why you'd say that.
I want a Samu Omorogin. I want an Osman type player. That's what I like. But if you want to go with Isak, that's fine too. I don't think Isak's a bully. I think he's very technically gifted and a dribbler, and someone who will score a lot of goals and can get to the byline. And he, like, technically, for a man of his size to have his feet is crazy.
Could work out wide as well, man. What do you make of Sesko then? Sesko remains of concrete interest to Arsenal. The club will continue to monitor Sesko and will be in a strong position to strike, having already completed much of the groundwork if the player is identified as their main target. I think it's quite feasible for Sesko to Arsenal. I think it's a deal that could be done, if that makes sense.
I think Šeško is the rival to Haaland in 2.5 years.
I hope so, because I look like a fool. You should see all the comments on my videos where I've been pushing Sesko propaganda. Oh, you really are deluded. Whoa, 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 whoa.
He literally has everything. He has absolutely everything. Pace, height, strength. He's got the attitude. He's got the frankly, the aura. Those sorts of things.
Just needs that consistency now, in my opinion.
He needs to believe in himself. He's brilliant. He's just a bit inconsistent, as a young striker is. The thing is, though, again, to come back to it, if we're convinced by the talent, go and do it in January. Go and do it in January. And yeah, okay, it's not absolutely perfect, but it would give us, when the margins are this thin, when you do something that's a bit good, it will probably get you over it. If you do something, like I'm not suggesting you go sign a League Two player and that'll be enough. But if you sign a player of the quality of Benjamin Šeško, he's going to get you 8 goals in the back end of the season. That might be enough.
We missed out by 2 points last season. I have to ask you my final word on the transfer stuff. Yeah, Marcus Rashford. Could that be done in January? Because is it a coincidence that beyond the obvious, he's come out with that interview a month before the window opens? Would you go for Rashford? I know you're one of them. Mikel Arteta can fix the world, guys.
Well, I think profile-wise, Rashford is not quite perfect for the left-hand side, but he'd fix a lot of our issues. I think in January, if this deal was available in the summer, I would be pushing for it. In January, I think we'd have the Havertz period where he was just a little bit off it, and we need immediate impact.
Will you take him in the summer then? Summer of 2025?
No, because I think this is a player that I think last summer I would have done it at the price, but next summer, I think there's more players available who I think are better suited. He's a player who, if he's 40 million last summer and he's willing to drop his wage demands, you do that absolutely, and then because you've got some time.
I won't lie, Rashford, I love an underdog story. I'm wishing the best for you, just not at my club, bro. Like, we've got our own things to deal with. I just want some players that, are not kind of coming with that kind of baggage. What did you make of Gabriel Jesus getting a hat-trick, and away from him missing a tap in Raheem Sterling's performance? At that point where we need our squad players to step up, especially with Gabriel Jesus. Surely he's played his way into the Crystal Palace lineup, maybe even off that left-hand side.
Maybe off the left, yeah. That's a good shout.
I think you got to have Havertz against Palace.
Sterling. I prefer not to speak.
That miss criminal, man. Criminal.
Yeah, that's really poor. I'm rarely like the club have made an error and it's like an objective error, like that, because my thing is like, I see what they're going for, didn't quite work out. Maybe if you did this, that's just a mistake. Sterling's a mistake. That's it. Because I don't think he has it in him. I don't think he has the attitude the desire to play for the club. Basically, I think
That's harsh on Sterling, surely.
No,
The
no.
desire and attitude, that's harsh.
No,
Maybe
I
just
don't
not for Arteta just don't rate you like that. Like you've taken Reece Nelson's place just being a body. I hear it though, because you could argue, 30 years of age, no matter how much you're not playing at Arsenal, it's probably more football than you faced at Chelsea, because Maresca clearly said, you're not involved. And it's a relationship of convenience. We need a player. You can stay here for a year. I'd be amazed if he signed for us on a permanent basis. What about Jesus? Has Jesus turned it around?
No. I do find it interesting. If I did a straw poll of Arsenal fans 2 weeks ago about Gabriel Jesus, and you said you get a £30 million offer for Jesus, do you take it? Everyone says yes. And then he goes and scores a hat-trick, and then you get the whole people writing off Jesus, man. I need a much bigger sample. I think over the course of his Arsenal contract, to both Man City and to him, we will pay out over £100 million for him. That's not enough. It's not good. If you score lovely. You scored a hat trick.
You don't laugh, you'll cry.
I need to see more. So I have to be intellectually consistent. There's players like Mourinho who I think are getting a harsh. He'll have one bad game, and everyone go, "Oh yeah," and I go, "Chill, watch."
Why do you think that as well, man? Because I think it's too many extreme opinions with Moreno. Like, there was a lot of propaganda before a man kicked a ball for this club, and then every week he's being blamed. Even games that really and truly, like the Monaco game, we're just handling business, and he's still a talking point. I personally think that's because it's nothing to do with Moreno. I just feel we done that thing where we signed a player that's probably a floor raiser rather than a ceiling raiser, and we haven't really addressed that left eight. But I'm cool with Moreno, honestly. And the biggest testament I would say is it actually means seeing Rice in the six. I don't know why Arteta settled on that, but that's why I'm cool with Moreno, because Rice is playing six. But yeah, what have you made of the extreme opinions around him, man? It's harsh for me.
You know how I'm the tab police?
Yeah.
I'm also the Moreno police.
Get out of it. Marino.
George does this on my podcast all the time, and I just
we'll call him Mikel V2.
Mikel. I think he's he's a £30 million midfielder.
Exactly.
Is that?
But then we're looking at him to be a difference maker.
I think he's great and can help us. I think with a consistent run next to Martinelli with Calafiori, I think that'll be a really lovely little trio. We forget that Saka, Odegaard, and White have had 4 years to get up to the pace and the quality that they are. I think people were expecting Musiala, and that's not who he is. I think I will say, watching him live. So I went to the Monaco game. Watching him live, he's brilliant. He really is, and he is a player who's a rewatch player. You know that thing about don't watch Busquets. If you don't watch Busquets, you don't. You watch Busquets, you don't see him. Watch Busquets, you see the whole game. I can't remember.
They say that about Ozil as well.
That phrase, right? It's not quite that. But in terms of his actions, if you could isolate his actions and play that to people who don't like him, I think a lot more people will go, "Oh, I just didn't see that," which is fair. But he is doing his job. Is his job special? Is his job changing the world? No, but it's facilitating for others. And I think he was great against Monaco particularly. And I just think he needs some time. He's only been here, 4 or 5 months?
And broke his shoulder.
It's going to take some time. So,
and he's only been terrible when the whole team's been terrible. Like Bournemouth, everyone was shit. Newcastle, you were one of the better players in my opinion, but everybody was shit. So I'm not here for none of that. You haven't been poor. I think it was a step in the right direction for you against Liverpool. The only thing you've done that scared me in an Arsenal shirt was that terrible first touch against Liverpool that we got away with. But he's cool. Do you think he lacks pace though? Because that's one thing I've been seeing people say when I'm doing my watch alongs. Oh, he's slower than Xhaka. He's in trouble here. What do you make of that potentially?
Okay, he's not Mbappe. Of course he's not. But he's someone who will be in the right place for the wall pass. He's someone who makes the underlapping run. He's someone who's going to drop out and if someone, if the fullback pulls in, he's going to drop out and play that role consistently, gets his passes off, his accuracy is pretty good. But what are you expecting? Are you expecting him to go and shoot from 40 yards?
I think the propaganda around Mikel, which he can't control, that's why people are expecting that.
The ball, I don't know, what were people expecting? I don't.
I think they was expecting an all-action midfielder, and I would say I don't think people done their homework. I really don't. Like with the greatest of respect to Mikel, I said I think you're a floor raiser. I don't think you're a difference maker. I think you're what the squad needs in the next 2-3 years, or just someone that can be there because we've got a couple of players moving on. But I don't think you're the difference maker. I know you can play as 8, but I don't think you're the 8 we require. And I just feel, people are looking at him as this all-action midfielder, but he's not. Which, as you said there, before he kicked a ball, signed for Arsenal, duels, headers, box to box, all of that stuff. That's him. He's a 30 million pound player. But I think the frustration with him kind of goes into this summer really being a collective missed opportunity, whether it was getting that left-hand side addition, that centre midfielder that raises the tempo, etc. And I think Mikel gets a bit of heat for that. I think Calafiori gets a bit of heat for that. What do you make of, boy, and I can't pronounce his name, but the Las Palmas is Alberto Molero. He seems to be linked with us. He looks quite tidy, but what do you make of that?
Literally heard about him last night, so I haven't watched him. Sorry.
Would you make a Wirtz and Eze then?
Well, I was about to say about Wirtz and Musiala. Both of them sounds like their future's slightly up for debate. And sometimes you have to wait to get the player that City waited a year for Haaland, and that's obviously paid off. Yeah, I think sometimes there's talents that you do wait for, and like a Musiala, you do wait for that. So if that was the case with the midfield this year, then fine. But
do you think we could pull that off?
Musiala, I don't see why not. I think with the situation at City, I don't see that happening, and I think Musiala would relish that. I think he'd relish coming to Arsenal and being that player for us. I think that which is maybe what we're for. And then a similar point on Marino. I think a lot of the frustration at the window is being put on him. It's like we're annoyed at the window, and we blame.
And that's not his fault. He don't control nothing.
We get frustrated at Marino. Yeah, exactly. But I think someone like a Musiala, there is a space in this team which we can all feel for that player, for that sort of, star outside of Saka. And Musiala could possibly be that.
I mean, I would love Musiala or Wirtz. I don't know which one's more realistic. They're probably all going to have a whole host of clubs. I'm sure their current employers don't want to let them go. And it seems like their situations are both quite similar in terms of contracts. I guess in theory, maybe Wirtz is a bit more realistic, excluding the contract just because of the club he's at. They're probably more open to selling and receptive to selling. But I would love us to sign a player like that. Either one of those would be amazing. They're everything Arteta wants in a player, really and truly. Like Musiala, oh, it'd be amazing, man. It'd be amazing. It would be. What'd you make of that Marmoush guy as well? Because I've asked you about a lot of strikers. I've not really asked you about him.
I like him. To be honest, I've only seen a couple of comps, but I like how he dribbles. It's kind of Luis Diaz, sort of the hips. He's sort of moving around. I don't think he's that quick. He plays in quite a transitional team, but he's brilliant. Takes good free kick. Seems to have that sort of attitude and bravery, which I think people are calling out for. So there's a lot to like. I don't know if he solves. I think people are waiting for that fix, that player. I think if you want that, you might have to pay a bit more.
It's not gonna happen. It don't go like that. Let me see if there's any other interesting questions. Who is the light skinned guy for Fulham? The striker Muniz. He came off the bench against Liverpool, I'm sure, and scored. Would you take John Duran from Aston Villa? How would I like him.
Depends on price, but I'd be looking at it.
Like you said, the price there, man. On a scale of 1 to 10, I guess the final question for me, if I let you get out of it, on a scale from 1 to 10, bit of a twofold question. In fact, let's start it like this. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you about signings before I ask you the second part? Specifically January.
About the level of attacking signing that I think this team requires?
In January, yeah.
Two. I don't think it's going to happen.
You're not optimistic at all. How vital then, on a scale of 1 to 10, is it that we dip into the market in January?
8. I think it's a possibility to win the league without it. We can do it. We can win something without it. But it's a glaring hole in our team. That's it.
From us, the way Alex has spoken today, when he's saying certain things, I'm like, yeah, we really need to get our act together. My last question for you then, because I actually didn't ask you this. Would you make Arteta's comments about Ethan as a 9, developing as a 9? I thought they were quite interesting.
Yeah, I did see a bit of a no, because we want the signing. I don't think that's what he was saying. I currently don't see it because I think when you have a player who can receive the ball like that, you don't put him in a place where he's going to do that 3 times a game. I don't know, to be honest. I can't see that happening. But you know, obviously, Mikel sees him every day and knows a lot more about football than me. So yeah, I don't know. I just think when you look at Ethan's skills, it's approaching the penalty box, not being in the penalty box. That's where I see him at his absolute best. Someone like a Gyökeres or a Osimhen, they come alive in the penalty box. And I think Ethan, close to it, receiving, combining, connecting, that's where I see him best. But maybe that changes. I don't know.
I mean, to answer this question, Herbo, what a name. I wouldn't be against Eze. I do think people look at Eze a bit with rose tints and stuff like that. I guess it comes down to the fee. I can't remember if it was Graham Souness, Gary Neville, or some Michael Richards. One of them said if his GA was better, he probably wouldn't be at Palace, and I agree with that. I like Eze. I don't think Arsenal dislike Eze, but I don't think he's someone that moves the needle when they kind of have to get. I don't think he would play on a consistent basis as a left 8, but I do think he's got tools that would be great in the team. Without a doubt, Eze would be great. He's strong 1v1. He's a ball carrier. I think he's one of those players that would be great with better attackers, really. Not that the statistics would be kind to us in that regard. So yeah, and Eze in January, myth. Maybe in the summer, you'd imagine him and Gurhi leave Palace, but we'll have to see. Alex, it's been appreciative you being here. It's been appreciative you doing all these streams with me in 2024. I'll see you in 2025, mate. Let people know they can find you if they don't know, and what content you got to come out, man.
Search The Different Knock on YouTube if you want to find me. You can also find me on the Canon podcast, find me on X at AM on Football. Content. I'll put 2 videos out this week. I don't really know for next week because it's Christmas, so I'll work something out. But there's always stuff. Probably me complaining about strikers.
So yeah, people, and again, I did my own homework. I watched his video, spoiler alert, about the January market. Go and check that out. He spoke about a lot of transfers and whatnot. So yeah, I'm sure you lot agree and disagree with a lot of what we've got to say, but for now, people, we're out. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channels. Peace, man. Merry Christmas to everyone in advance, man. Peace, Alex.
Peace.
Come on, man.